We are at the start of what could be a critical economic week for the Biden administration. NBC's Tom Costello gets us started.
In Washington and across the country, high stakes over 4-decade high inflation, up 9% year over year. In Illinois, mother of three and special ed teacher Ellie Alvarado says it's taking a financial and emotional toll. Clothing up 5%, gas up nearly 60%, food prices up 10.5%, forcing them to cut back.
And now it's back to kind of paycheck to paycheck and watching to make sure we're not going into overdraft.
At a food bank in Loudoun County, Virginia, so many families are asking for help, they ran out of food after 90 minutes today.
We are seeing 20 to 25 new families each week that are coming in that are new to us, that have never gotten our services before.
Meanwhile, a new AAA poll finds 88% of those asked are cutting back on driving due to higher gas prices. While prices have recently dropped, they're still averaging $4.36 a gallon nationwide. All of it adding pressure on the Fed, expected to raise interest rates another 0.75 percentage point this week, just as second quarter GDP numbers could signal if the economy shrank for 2 quarters in a row, a common definition for a recession. But Americans are still spending and employers are still hiring. President Biden says a recession is not a done deal.
God willing, I don't think we're going to see a recession.
We have got a lot to cover on this. Here to help me break it all down, Brian Dees, director of the National Economic Council for President Biden's White House. Brian, there is all of this talk about a possible recession and the technical definition of what it means. Let's forget that and just get practical. Explain to us the health of our economy right now.
Well, we're in a transition, and it feels unique because it is unique. We have never come out of a global pandemic while dealing with the economic impacts of a land war in Europe. So we are in unique territory. But I think where we are now is coming through a transition from what has been a truly historically fast period of economic growth and job growth, transitioning to something that we certainly hope and our aim is to be more stable growth. That historic progress really has been extraordinary. We've had the fastest job growth and the strongest labor market performance in recent memory. And that has actually given families wherewithal to navigate through what are challenging circumstances. So we see, for example, record low credit card delinquencies, record low bankruptcies, record low mortgage delinquencies. And at the same time, we are seeing things slow, as you would expect in this context. But the key thing right now is that as we are in this transition, the choices we make now, the policy choices we make now, whether we actually take more action to lower prices and make things more affordable for families, these will help determine how successful we are at actually making that transition to a place where we are in more stable growth without giving up all of those economic gains that we've made.
We have this complicated, massive economy, though, right? For a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, for an hourly worker, for a senior citizen shopping at a grocery store, each one has a vastly different economic reality. So when this White House is considering what levers to pull, what support to give, what economy do you look at?
Well, this president, our team, and our entire focus has been on a typical working class family. And is that family in a position where they can achieve what the president likes to refer to as a little bit of breathing room? And what that means is the economic security and the dignity to actually provide for your family and have a little bit left over each month. So when we make decisions and we operate, we're thinking about what is that monthly budget? What are the components of that budget? And what can we do to actually make things more affordable while also continuing the momentum that has driven, for example, a very strong job market where we're seeing wage gains disproportionately on the low end of the income spectrum for the first time in a very long time. So that's why you see us focusing on things like prescription drugs, which are a big cost driver, particularly for older people, but also families with people with chronic conditions, for example. And also then very practical costs like internet, something you and I have talked about before. If we can make internet affordable for families, that could take 30, 50, $100 off of a family's typical monthly budget. Those are the kinds of things that actually people are sitting around kitchen tables and talking about and figuring out how to make these trade-offs. That's where our focus is.
Prescription drugs, internet, hugely important things in almost every American household. Do you think people realize that's what you're doing? Because politically speaking, you need to sell this to the American people so they're aware.
Well, look, the thing that is the most salient in the economy, as your piece leading in just said, is gas prices, because there is a very visible price on almost every corner in almost every community in the country. And on that score, gas prices are now down about 70 cents. 70 cents in the last 6 weeks. And for a typical two-car driving family, that's about $100 a month in savings. People certainly see that, and they certainly feel that. But beyond that, our view is that good policy makes good politics. And the more that we can, for example, encourage more people to sign up for the Affordable Connectivity Program, if you let me do a plug, getinternet.gov, you can go on, you can find out if you're one of 50 million Americans who can actually benefit from this program and get lower cost internet. The more that we do our job and make these programs available, make them accessible, and make them clear, the more people will understand, and across time, they'll feel that in their lives. I think what people want is for us to be focused on doing our job, providing these benefits in a way that, again, helps the macroeconomy make this transition at the same time. And that's what we're, that's what we're here to do.
Gas prices are definitely going down. You're right about that. Here's the tricky thing, really, for the White House. People were certainly complaining when they were going up. You're not hearing that many people complimenting it or thrilled or talking at their kitchen table about the good news about gas prices going down. So you have the challenge of getting the American people positive about the economy. It's very psychological. How we feel about the economy impacts how we behave. How do you change the way people think? Because we are in an economic recovery.
Well, look, the way people feel is the way people feel, and it's their lived reality. And certainly our goal is not to try to change or convince people otherwise. But I do think that you are right. Some of this is about the way that things are covered. There was a lot more coverage, and we've actually seen it in doing scans of media analysis, a lot more coverage when gas prices are going up than when they're going down. So some of the things that we're trying to do is make very clear to the American people when those things happen that they can benefit from them and that they have an impact in their lives. The president spoke about that issue on Friday, and he will speak more about that this week, and we'll keep at that. And at the same time, we're going to keep at things that people may not understand as directly as gas prices, but make a huge difference in their lives. Today, we had a set of CEOs and labor leaders at the White House to talk about the issue of semiconductors, computer chips, where people may not, before this crisis, have totally understood their centrality in our economy. But I'll tell you, if you've lived through the economy the last couple of years, you've seen, for example, how much car prices have added to inflation. About 1/3 of our inflation in the U.S. last year was a function of car prices, and that's principally because we didn't have enough semiconductors. So we also need to explain, and we also need to deliver on addressing issues like that, issues that will also mean more jobs, more manufacturing capacity in the United States, but also rebuilding the stability of our supply chains. I think we have all seen in one way or another, because we couldn't get a good that we needed or we had to pay too much for another good, that our supply chains were too fragile going into this crisis, and we've got a lot of work to repair them. But on something like semiconductors, we can do something practical that I think a lot of people understand how it would affect them in their lives.
Bring on the chips, bring on the semiconductors, and secure that domestic supply chain. Good news around. Brian, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate it.